Someone please help! We are going to die!
Yes, I can.
At 3 a.m., both pilots collapsed. Nobody knew except one sleeping girl in seat 12C. She was 16, never flew before. But when fighter jets appeared outside demanding her call sign, she answered with a dead pilot's name, her mother's name. And suddenly, saving 143 people became the easy part. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Okay, so here's the thing about Zara Kim. If you'd been on United Flight 1842 that night, the red eye from Boston to Seattle, and if you'd walked past seat 12C, you wouldn't have given her a second look. Just another teenager. Black hoodie pulled up, earbuds in, face turned toward the window even though there was nothing to see out there at 2 a.m. except darkness. Middle seat 2. The worst seat on the plane, squished between a businessman in 12B who kept spreading his elbows into her space and a college kid in 12A who was watching TikToks without headphones. The annoying kind that just lets the sound play out loud at like 1 a.m. Zara didn't complain. She just tucked her arms in tighter, made herself smaller, and tried to disappear. That's what she was good at, disappearing. She was wearing this oversized BTS hoodie, black with the logo across the front. She bought it at a concert 2 years ago, back when things were different. Back when her mom was still alive and they'd gone together, just the two of them, and her mom had surprised her with the hoodie even though it cost way too much. Zara remembered that night so clearly. Her mom laughing, singing along to songs she didn't understand, trying to learn the fan chants. Everyone around them was younger, teenagers, college kids, and her mom was this 40-year-old fighter pilot learning K-pop choreography in the nosebleed seats. People had stared. But her mom didn't care. She never cared what people thought. Life's too short to not enjoy what you love, her mom had said, buying the hoodie from a vendor. You like BTS? Then you wear this with pride. Zara still wore it constantly. It smelled like the concert, like her mom's perfume, that vanilla and sandalwood scent she always wore, like a memory she couldn't let go of. The smell was fading now. 3 years later. But Zara couldn't bring herself to wash it too often, couldn't risk losing that last little bit of her mom that still clung to the fabric. Her jeans were ripped at the knees. Not the fashionable kind of ripped you buy at the mall. These rips were real, from when she'd climbed a fence last year trying to get away from her third foster home. Or was it her fourth? She'd lost count. That foster dad had been drunk. Again. Yelling. Again. Zara had grabbed her backpack and gone out her bedroom window at 2 a.m., caught her jeans on the chain-link fence of the backyard, ripped them. Didn't care. She'd spent that night in a 24-hour diner, drinking coffee she didn't like, pretending to do homework until the sun came up. Social services found her the next day, moved her to another home. The cycle continued. Her shoes were beat-up black Converse with Sharpie doodles all over the white rubber. Song lyrics mostly. Korean and English mixed together, lines from her favorite songs that meant something to her even if nobody else could read them. I'm the one I should love in this world, BTS in English. Even if I fall, I'll rise again in Korean. Viper never quits in her mom's handwriting. Well, Zara's attempt at copying her mom's handwriting from old notes, and her earbuds, cheap wired ones, not AirPods. She couldn't afford AirPods. She couldn't afford much of anything. The $247 in her bank account was every dollar she'd saved from 3 different part-time jobs over the last year. Babysitting, dog walking, tutoring kids in math. All of it was supposed to be for college, a future, but now it was escape money, one-way ticket to Seattle, and whatever came after. But there was one thing she had that mattered more than money. In her phone case, tucked behind the clear plastic, was a Polaroid photo, her mom, in a flight suit, throwing a peace sign at the camera, smiling that huge smile she used to have. It was taken on the tarmac after a training flight. Zara remembered because she'd taken the photo. She was 13. Her mom had snuck her onto the base for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, even though fighter pilots didn't really do that. Rules are meant to be bent sometimes, her mom had said with a wink. Zara had been staring at that photo since they took off from Boston. She did this on every flight. Just looked at her mom's face and tried to remember what her voice sounded like, the deep, confident tone she used when she was in pilot mode, the soft, gentle voice she used when reading bedtime stories, even when Zara was way too old for bedtime stories, the laugh. God, her mom's laugh. big and loud and unapologetic. 3 years. It had been 3 years since the accident. 3 years since Captain Jennifer Viper Kim's F-16 went down during a routine training exercise. 3 years since Zara's entire life fell apart. The official accident report said pilot error. Zara had read that report 247 times. Not an estimate, exactly 247 times she'd counted. She'd memorized every word, every technical detail, every measurement, every timeline entry, every lie. Because that's what it was, a lie. Her mom didn't make errors. Her mom was one of the best pilots in the Air National Guard. Everyone said so. She had 3,400 flight hours. Perfect record. Awards covering the walls of their old house, the house Zara didn't live in anymore because the state sold it to pay for her foster care. Distinguished Flying Cross. Air Medal, Aerial Achievement Medal, pilot error. Bullshit. Zara knew the truth. Something else had happened that night. Something they covered up. Something they didn't want anyone to know. And for 3 years, she'd been trying to figure out what. That's why she'd hacked into her mom's old flight simulator account. Not a video game, not some Xbox thing. Her mom's actual FAA-certified Level D flight simulator access that the Air National Guard used for training. It had taken Zara 6 months to crack it. She'd taught herself coding, learned about network security, watched YouTube videos on penetration testing, read forums about authentication systems, and finally, she got in. Her mom's old login credentials. Passwords stored in old emails Zara had recovered from her mom's laptop. Multi-factor authentication she bypassed by cloning her mom's old phone SIM card. All of it highly illegal. All of it necessary. And she'd been flying for 3 years in secret, 340 hours logged, all illegal, all uncertified, but real. Real procedures, real physics, real aircraft systems. She'd crashed 67 times in the sim. Engine fires, hydraulic failures, electrical failures, bird strikes, wind shear, ice on the wings. She'd died 67 times learning what killed pilots. She'd landed successfully 891 times. She knew the Boeing 737 emergency procedures better than most actual pilots. She'd memorized the quick reference handbook, all 89 pages. She knew what to do when both engines failed, the landing gear wouldn't extend, the flaps jammed, the pressurization system failed, the flight controls malfunctioned. She knew how to handle engine failures, hydraulic failures, pressurization failures. She knew what to do when everything went wrong. Because she needed to understand, she needed to know what her mom had faced that night, what decisions she'd made, what killed her. The simulator was the only place Zara felt close to her mom anymore, sitting in that virtual cockpit, hands-on virtual controls, making the same decisions her mom had made thousands of times. It was the only place she felt like she mattered. Nobody knew about the simulator hours. Nobody knew Zara even cared about flying. To her foster families, she was just the quiet Korean kid who listened to K-pop and didn't cause trouble. The one who did her homework, got good grades, never talked back, never asked for anything. The easy kid. To her classmates, she was invisible, the girl who sat in the back, ate lunch alone, didn't go to parties, didn't have friends. The weird kid. To the world, she didn't matter. But in that simulator, at 3 a.m., when nobody was monitoring the system, Zara was a pilot. Call sign, Viper, her mom's call sign. The one she'd earned flying combat missions in Iraq. The one everyone in the squadron knew. The one that meant deadly precision and no fear. The one Zara had stolen because it was all she had left. Every time she logged into the simulator, she typed it in. Call sign, Viper. And for a few hours, she was her mom. Strong, confident, fearless. Everything Zara wasn't in real life. And now here she was on flight 1842, running away. 5th foster home in 3 years. This one had been the worst. The foster parents seemed nice at first. They always did. Big house, good neighborhood. Talked about giving her opportunities and being part of the family. But the foster dad drank, and when he drank, he got mean. Not hitting, never hitting, but the yelling, the insults. The way he looked at her, and the foster mom just ignored it, pretended everything was fine. Zara had lasted 4 months. Then last week, the foster dad came home drunk at midnight, started banging on her bedroom door, yelling about some chore she'd forgotten to do. And Zara realized she couldn't do this anymore. She couldn't keep moving from house to house, couldn't keep pretending these people cared about her, couldn't keep being the quiet, easy kid who didn't matter. So she'd taken the money she'd saved, bought a ticket to Seattle, packed a backpack with 2 changes of clothes, and left. No note, no goodbye, just gone. Seattle because it was far, because nobody knew her there, because she could disappear, maybe get emancipated, maybe find a job, maybe just vanish and start over somewhere nobody knew her story. At 16, you could disappear if you tried hard enough, if you kept your head down, if you didn't ask for help. Zara was good at all of those things. The flight attendants had barely looked at her during boarding, just another unaccompanied minor. They saw dozens every day. Nobody asked questions, nobody cared, and that was fine with Zara. She checked in online, printed her boarding pass at a kiosk, walked onto the plane like she belonged there, just another passenger. Invisible. She put her earbuds in, turned on her playlist, mostly Korean indie stuff, some old American songs her mom used to play, and closed her eyes. She wasn't really sleeping, just existing in that half-awake state where you're aware but not present. The playlist shuffled to an old song, Lean on Me by Bill Withers. Her mom used to sing this one in the car, in the kitchen, in the cockpit, probably, when nobody was listening. Zara's throat tightened. She missed her mom so much it physically hurt sometimes, like a weight on her chest that never went away. She pulled out her phone, looked at the Polaroid again. Her mom's smile, so bright, so alive. "I miss you, Mom," she whispered to the photo. Nobody heard her. The businessman was already snoring. The college kid had finally put headphones on. Just Zara and her memories and the hum of the engines. Thinking about her mom, thinking about what she was going to do when they landed. Thinking about the lights flickered. 3:47 a.m., Zara's eyes opened. That was weird. Lights don't just flicker on commercial aircraft. They have redundant electrical systems, backup generators, multiple power sources. It's not like your house where the power blinks when it storms. She pulled out one earbud and listened. The engine sound was normal. That steady low drone that you stop noticing after a while. A constant hum that becomes background noise. But something felt wrong. She couldn't explain it. It was just this feeling in her gut, the same feeling she got in the simulator when a system was about to fail before the warning lights came on. Instinct. 340 hours of practice had taught her to trust her instinct. Something was wrong. She sat up straighter, looking around the cabin. Most people were still asleep. A few reading lights scattered here and there, the glow of phone screens, people wrapped in those thin airline blankets. Normal, but not normal. The air felt different, heavier somehow. Or maybe she was being paranoid. Maybe running away was making her jumpy. 5 minutes passed, nothing else happened. The businessman next to her was still snoring. Loud, rhythmic snores that sounded like a lawnmower. The college kid had finally fallen asleep, with his phone still playing videos at low volume. Most of the cabin was dark, just a few reading lights scattered here and there. People wrapped in blankets, sleeping through the red eye like normal. Zara was about to put her earbud back in when she heard it. Footsteps, fast footsteps, running. From the front of the plane, she sat up fully now, pulling both earbuds out. A flight attendant, young woman, maybe late 20s, name tag said Rachel, was rushing down the aisle toward the cockpit. She wasn't walking like flight attendants normally walk. That smooth, professional glide they all have, the practiced movement that keeps them steady even in turbulence. She was moving like someone who was scared. Fast, jerky, unprofessional. Zara watched as Rachel reached the cockpit door and entered the access code with shaking hands. It took her 2 tries, her fingers slipping on the keypad. The door opened, Rachel disappeared inside. Zara counted. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, the door should close automatically. Security protocol. It didn't. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Then, Rachel stumbled back out into the galley. Even from seat 12C, Zara could see her face, white, completely white, all the color drained out, shaking. Rachel grabbed the PA handset. Her hand was trembling so badly she almost dropped it. The PA clicked on with that electronic chirp. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is..." Her voice cracked. She took a breath. Tried again. Is there a pilot on board? Anyone with flight experience? Please identify yourself immediately. The cabin stirred. People waking up. Confused murmurs. What's happening? Why is she asking for a pilot? Did she say pilot? Rachel's voice came again, louder, more desperate. Please, if anyone has aviation experience. Pilots, instructors, military, we need you now. Zara's heart stopped. Both pilots are down. That's the only reason you make that announcement. Both pilots unconscious, dead, incapacitated, something. One pilot goes down, the other can fly. That's redundancy. That's safety. Both pilots down? That's catastrophic. She felt the blood drain from her face. All around her, passengers were waking up fully now, sitting up, looking around. What's going on? Are we crashing? Why does she need a pilot? Oh my God, something's wrong with the pilots. Panic spreading through the cabin like fire. Rachel's eyes were scanning the rows, desperate, searching for anyone who might help. Nobody was responding to Rachel's call, because who the hell is a pilot on a random red-eye from Boston to Seattle at 3 a.m.? What are the odds? Maybe 1 in 1,000 flights has an off-duty pilot as a passenger, and they'd be asleep like everyone else. Zara looked around the cabin. Business travelers, families, college kids, old people, nobody standing up, nobody volunteering, just confused, scared passengers wondering what was happening. And Zara's brain was already working. 340 hours. Boeing 737 procedures. Emergency landings. She knew this aircraft. She'd flown it hundreds of times in the sim. Engine failures, hydraulic failures, electrical malfunctions. She'd practiced them all, but that was a simulator. This was real. This was 143 people at 37,000 feet, with nobody flying the plane. Her hands were shaking. Her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Her mom's voice in her head. When everything goes wrong, you have 2 choices, freeze or fly. Her mom had said that after Zara's first sim crash, when she'd panicked and frozen and let the aircraft spin into the ground. Fear is normal, Zara, but freezing will kill you. When things go wrong, you fly, you make decisions, you act, even if you're scared, especially if you're scared, because that's what pilots do. Zara looked at Rachel's face, terrified, lost, alone. She looked at the passengers, families with kids, old couples holding hands, young people just starting their lives, 143 people, all of them about to die if nobody did something. And there was nobody. Nobody except a 16-year-old girl who'd spent 3 years learning to fly in secret. This was insane. She couldn't do this. She was just a kid. But her mom's voice, fly anyway. Zara stood up. The businessman next to her woke up as she moved. Hey, where are you? Zara ignored him. Rachel saw her immediately. This teenage girl in a BTS hoodie standing up in the middle of the chaos. Sit down, sweetie. This is an emergency. You need to... I know, Zara said. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. What happened to the pilots? Rachel blinked, stared at this kid. That's not... You need to sit down. Are they breathing? Rachel stopped. What? The pilots. Are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? Rachel stared at this teenager using words she shouldn't know. Medical assessment questions. The kind of questions a trained professional would ask. Yes, they're breathing, but they won't wake up, and I don't know what to do. Unconscious from what? Medical emergency? Contamination? Depressurization? Carbon monoxide? Rachel's face went even paler. Who are you? I need to see the cockpit. You can't. There's nobody else. Zara gestured at the cabin. All the confused, scared faces staring at them. You called for a pilot? There isn't one. So it's me or you. Figure out how to land this plane yourself. Rachel's mouth opened, closed, her eyes filled with tears. You're a child. I'm 16, and I've logged more sim hours than most student pilots. 340 hours. Boeing 737 procedures, emergency operations. I know the systems. Sim hours aren't. They're not real. It's what we have. Zara's voice was calm but firm. Let me try, or we all die when the fuel runs out. Those are the options. The words hung in the air. Rachel looked at the cabin. 143 people. An older woman in row 14 was crying. A dad in row 16 was holding his daughter tight. A young couple in row 10 were holding hands, praying, all of them depending on her to make an impossible choice: trust a teenager or do nothing and hope for a miracle that wasn't coming. She looked back at Zara, really looked at her. This kid wasn't panicking, wasn't crying, wasn't frozen. She was calm, focused, asking the right questions. Rachel had seen plenty of people panic in emergencies. Freeze. Become useless. This kid wasn't freezing. Maybe she could do this. Come with me, Rachel said. The walk to the front of the plane felt like it took forever. People were staring, confused, scared. Who's that? Is she a pilot? She's just a kid. Oh my God, we're going to die. A man in row 8, big guy, probably 40s, grabbed Zara's arm as she passed. What's happening? Are we crashing? Zara gently pulled her arm free. We're okay. The aircraft is flying normally. Just stay in your seat. But the pilots, I'm going to handle it. Please stay seated. She kept walking. The college kid from 12A had woken up. He called after her. Wait, are you actually a pilot? Zara didn't answer. What would she say? No, I'm not a pilot. I'm a 16-year-old kid who's been illegally using a military flight simulator for 3 years because I'm obsessed with understanding how my mom died. Yeah, that would inspire confidence. She kept her eyes forward, didn't look at anyone, just followed Rachel through the galley to the cockpit door. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. What was she doing? She'd never flown a real plane, never touched real controls, never felt real air under real wings. 340 hours was nothing, fake, pixels on a screen. This was insane, but there was nobody else. Rachel entered the code. The cockpit door opened, and Zara stepped into her worst nightmare. The captain was slumped forward in the left seat. Male, maybe 50 years old, gray hair, completely unconscious. His head was resting against his chest harness, drool coming from his mouth. The first officer was in the right seat. Female, 30s, dark hair pulled back, head tilted back, mouth open. Also unconscious. Her hands were limp in her lap, both breathing. Zara could see their chests moving. Slow but steady, but completely unresponsive. The autopilot was engaged. The aircraft was flying itself. Zara's eyes scanned the instruments the way she'd practiced 1,000 times. Primary flight display, left side. Run altitude, 37,000 feet. Stable. Unvertical speed, 0 feet per minute. Level flight. Hang airspeed, 285 knots. Normal cruise. Young heading 276 degrees. Westbound, navigation display, right side, current position. Over South Dakota somewhere. Flight plan route, magenta line showing the path to Seattle. Ing. Time to destination, 1 hour 47 minutes. Engine instruments, FING N1 88% on both engines. Normal cruise thrust. Fuel flow, normal. Fong oil pressure, green. Normal. Fuel quantity, 8,400 kilograms remaining. Plenty. Autopilot mode, LAN/VNAF. Lateral and vertical navigation engaged, following the flight plan automatically. Everything looked normal, except for the unconscious pilots. Zara pulled a small flashlight from her hoodie pocket. She always carried one, a habit from reading accident reports about night emergencies where cockpit lighting failed and pilots couldn't see their instruments. She shined it in the captain's eyes. Pupils didn't respond. Not dilated, not contracted, just fixed, mid-position. She checked his pulse on his neck. Strong, steady, about 60 beats per minute. Same with the first officer. Breathing. Pulse, but completely out. Not a heart attack, not a stroke. Those would show different symptoms. Something else. Zara sniffed the air carefully. No smoke smell, no chemical odor, no electrical burning. She looked at the environmental controls. Cabin pressure normal, cabin altitude 6,000 feet, normal for cruise. Then she looked at the oxygen system panel above the center console, and her blood went cold. The captain's oxygen mask connection was loose, the green connector barely attached to the supply hose. The first officer's mask was completely disconnected, just hanging there. Hypoxia. They'd been breathing cabin air instead of supplemental oxygen, passed out from oxygen deprivation. But hypoxia doesn't hit both pilots at exactly the same time. It's gradual. You get symptoms. Confusion. Euphoria? Loss of coordination. One pilot would notice the other having problems, unless it was sudden, rapid decompression. But the cabin pressure was fine. Or unless Zara looked closer at the oxygen system controls, the flow regulator valve. It was in the wrong position. Someone had turned it to minimum flow. The oxygen supply had been deliberately cut to almost nothing. This wasn't an accident, this wasn't a medical emergency, this was sabotage. Someone had tried to kill the pilots. Someone had tried to crash this plane. Zara felt sick, but she pushed the feeling down. Deal with it later. Right now, fly the plane. Zara stood there for 5 seconds, just trying to breathe. Someone had sabotaged this aircraft. Someone had tried to crash this plane. And now she was the only person who could stop it. She was 16 years old. She'd never flown a real aircraft. She'd never even been in a cockpit before, except when she was little and her mom had snuck her into one after a flight. Zara had sat in the captain's seat, tiny hands on the yoke, pretending to fly while her mom took photos. That was 10 years ago. This was real. But Rachel was standing in the doorway, crying, waiting for Zara to do something. And 143 people were sleeping in the cabin behind them. People who had no idea their pilots were unconscious and a teenager was about to try to save their lives. Zara looked at the captain's seat, sat down. The seat was warm from the captain's body. The yoke was right in front of her, the throttles to her right. The instrument panel glowing with dozens of displays and indicators and switches and buttons. It looked exactly like the simulator, except it wasn't. The simulator didn't vibrate like this. Didn't have the smell of coffee and aviation fuel, didn't have the weight of 143 lives pressing down on her shoulders. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the armrests to steady them. She looked at the radio panel, found the frequency selector, Denver Center. That's who would be controlling them over this part of the country. She'd studied the airspace charts, knew the frequencies. She picked up the mic. The radio mic felt heavy in her hand. Real. This wasn't a game controller. This was actual aviation radio. Her finger hovered over the transmit button. Once she pressed this, there was no going back. Everyone would know. Air traffic control, the FAA, the military, probably a 16-year-old kid was flying a commercial airliner. She'd be in so much trouble, but trouble didn't matter if they were all dead. She pressed the button. Denver Center, this is United 1842. Her voice sounded tiny, young, scared, nothing like the confident pilot voices she heard on recordings. A moment of silence. Then the radio crackled. United 1842. Denver Center. Go ahead. Calm. Routine. No idea what was about to happen. Zara took a breath. Her hand was shaking on the mic. Denver, we have... Both pilots are unconscious. Medical emergency. I'm a passenger. I have some flight sim experience. I'm flying the aircraft. Long silence. She could almost hear the controller's brain trying to process what she'd just said. Then, United 1842, say again your last. He wanted her to repeat it. Probably thought he misheard. Zara's voice was steadier this time. Both pilots are down. I'm 16 years old. I've never flown a real plane before, and I need help. Another silence, even longer. She imagined the controller in Denver. Probably a room full of screens, multiple aircraft on radar, normal night shift. And then this. United 1842. Understand you are a minor operating the aircraft? Yes, sir. Stand by. More silence. She could hear clicking on the radio. The controller talking to someone else. Supervisors, probably. Then he came back. Different tone, more serious. United 1842. What is your name? Zara Kim. Zara, what kind of flight experience do you have? She wanted to lie, make it sound better than it was. Say she'd taken lessons or her dad was a pilot or something, but there was no point. About 340 hours in a level D simulator, Boeing 737 procedures. I know the systems. I've studied the manuals. I've just never done it for real. The controller's voice changed, became softer, more gentle, almost fatherly. Okay, Zara, you're doing great. I'm going to help you. My name is Tom. I'm a controller, but I'm also a former Air Force pilot. You're not alone. We're going to get you down safely. Do you understand? Zara's eyes filled with tears. Someone believed her. Someone was going to help. Yes, sir. Good. Now, what's your aircraft status? I need you to look at your instruments and tell me what you see. Zara wiped her eyes with her sleeve, focused on the displays. Autopilot engaged. Altitude 37,000 feet. Heading 276. Airspeed 285 knots. Following the flight plan. Everything looks stable right now. Perfect. That's perfect, Zara. Leave autopilot on. Don't touch anything yet. The aircraft is flying itself, and it's doing a good job. We're going to bring in some experts and talk you through this step by step. Can you do that? Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions about the pilots. You said they're unconscious. Are they breathing? Yes, both breathing. I checked their pulses, strong and steady, but they won't wake up. Do you know what caused them to pass out? I think it was oxygen deprivation. Their oxygen masks weren't connected properly, and the flow regulator looks like it was tampered with. Silence on the radio. Zara, are you saying you think this was deliberate? Someone sabotaged the oxygen system. More silence, then, okay, we're going to investigate that. But right now, we focus on getting you down safely. Understand? Yes, sir. Zara, I need one more thing from you. This is very important. For our records and for safety. Do you have a call sign? Any aviation identifier? Zara hesitated. Her mom's call sign. Viper. The one she'd been using in the simulator for 3 years. The one that probably showed up in logs somewhere. The one that belonged to a dead pilot. The one that was probably flagged in every military database as inactive. If she said it, they'd know. They'd know who her mom was. They'd know she'd been using military flight simulator systems illegally. They'd know she'd been pretending to be her mom. They'd know everything. But she was past the point of caring about getting in trouble. What were they going to do? Arrest her after she landed? Fine. At least she'd be alive to get arrested. She keyed the mic. Call sign Viper. What Zara didn't know, the moment she said Viper, alarms went off at NORAD headquarters deep inside Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado. A computer flagged the call sign. Red warning on a screen. A duty officer looked up from his coffee. Sir, we have a flagged call sign on civilian frequency. The senior controller rolled his chair over. What is it? Viper. United Flight 1842 out of Boston. The senior controller's face went pale. Viper? Jennifer Kim's call sign. Yes, sir. Inactive since 2002. Someone's using a dead pilot's call sign on a civilian aircraft? Yes, sir. The senior controller grabbed a phone. Direct line to Air Force Northern Command. This is NORAD Watch. We have a potential security situation. Call sign Viper just activated on Commercial Flight United 1842. Yes, that Viper. Jennifer Kim. Deceased 2021. Someone's using her credentials. Could be hijacking. Could be terrorism. Could be foreign operative. Recommend immediate fighter intercept. 30 seconds later, the order came down. Scramble fighters. Buckley Space Force Base, Colorado. 2 F-22 Raptor pilots were in the alert shack, on standby. Always ready, Captain Jake Falcon Morrison was reading a book. His wingman, Captain Amy Hawk Chen, was doing a crossword puzzle. The alarm sounded. Both pilots dropped everything, grabbed their helmets, ran. 60 seconds to the aircraft, ground crew already had the F-22s ready, engines warming up. Both pilots climbed into their cockpits. Strapped in. Mission brief came over the radio. Falcon Flight, you are scrambled to intercept United 1842. Boeing 737, currently over South Dakota. Reports of unconscious pilots. Someone using call sign Viper, flagged as potential security threat. Intercept and identify. Rules of engagement. Observe and report. Do not, repeat, do not take hostile action without direct authorization from NORAD. This could be hijacking, could be confusion. We need eyes on target. Captain Morrison keyed his mic. Falcon lead copies. Intercepting United 1842. Observe and report. Both F-22s rolled onto the runway. Full afterburner. Airborne in 8 seconds. Climbing through 10,000 feet. Supersonic at 15,000 feet. Mach 1.5. Target United 1842. 85 miles northwest. Time to intercept 6 minutes. Back in the cockpit of United 1842, Zara had no idea any of this was happening. Tom, the controller, was talking her through the aircraft systems, asking her to verify readings, making sure she understood what she was looking at. Zara, I'm going to connect you with a Boeing 737 instructor pilot. His name is Dave. He flies for United. He's going to walk you through everything you need to know. I'll stay on frequency as backup, okay? Okay, a new voice came on. Older, calm, confident. Zara, this is Dave Hendricks. I'm a 737 instructor pilot with United Airlines. I have about 15,000 hours in this aircraft, been flying for 30 years. And I want you to know something right from the start. You're already doing the hardest part. You're staying calm, you're communicating, you're thinking clearly. That's 90% of flying. The other 10% is just following procedures. And I'm going to teach you every single one. Sound good? His voice was so confident, so reassuring, like a favorite teacher or a grandfather. Zara felt some of her panic ease. Yes, sir. Good. First thing, call me Dave. No need for sir. We're a crew now. You and me, we're going to work together to get this bird on the ground. You with me? Perfect. Now let's start with the basics. I want you to tell me what you see on your primary flight display. That's the screen right in front of you. Big one. Tell me about the blue and brown. The blue is sky, brown is ground. There's a white line in the middle, the horizon line. Excellent. What else? Altitude tape on the right, we're at 37,000 feet. Airspeed tape on the left, 285 knots. Heading at the top, 276 degrees. Perfect. You know the instruments. That's good. Real good. Now tell me about the autopilot. Do you see the status at the top of the display? Yes. It says LNAV and VNAV. Right. That means the autopilot is following the navigation route laterally, left and right, and vertically, up and down. The aircraft knows where it's going, and it's taking itself there. We're going to leave that on for now. Let the plane do the work. Make sense? Yes. Good. Now, Zara, I need to ask you something important. How did you learn to fly? 340 sim hours is a lot for someone your age. Zara hesitated, then figured, what's the point of hiding it now? My mom was a pilot, Air National Guard. F-16s. She died 3 years ago. Training accident. I hacked into her old simulator account. Been teaching myself ever since. Silence on the radio. Then, your mom was a fighter pilot? Yes. Then you've got the right genes. Fighter pilots raise tough kids. And Zara, your mom would be proud of you right now. I guarantee it. Zara's throat closed up. She couldn't speak. Can you hear me, Zara? She wiped her eyes. Yes, I'm here. Good. Now let's fly this airplane. For the next 20 minutes, Dave walked her through every system. Engine instruments, fuel systems, hydraulics, electrical, pressurization. Zara answered his questions, described what she was seeing, confirmed readings. And slowly, gradually, she started to feel like maybe, just maybe, she could actually do this. Then Rachel tapped her shoulder. Zara? There are fighter jets outside. Zara's head snapped to the left window. 2 F-22 Raptors, one on each wing, close enough that she could see the pilots in their helmets, see the weapons hanging under the wings. Missiles. Her blood turned to ice. Why were there fighter jets? Why were they carrying weapons? The radio crackled. Different frequency. Military band. She hadn't even known the radio could pick up military frequencies. United 1842. This is Falcon Lead, United States Air Force. We are on your wing. Identify the person using call sign Viper. Immediately. The voice was hard, cold. Command voice, military voice, not friendly. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. They thought she was a threat. They thought someone was hijacking the plane. Using her mom's call sign had triggered a security alert, and now there were fighter jets with missiles outside her window. Zara grabbed the mic with shaking hands. Falcon Lead, this is Viper. I'm not a threat. I'm just a passenger. Both pilots are unconscious. I'm flying because there's nobody else. Viper, authenticate your identity, provide credentials. Credentials? She didn't have credentials. She was a kid. I don't have credentials. I'm 16 years old. My name is Zara Kim. My mom was Captain Jennifer Kim, Air National Guard. Call sign Viper. She died in 2021. I've been using her call sign in flight sims. I didn't know it would trigger anything. Silence on the radio. Zara could see the F-22 pilot on her left. He was looking right at her through the window. His helmet visor was up. She could see his face. He was looking at a teenage girl in a BTS hoodie, sitting in a 737 cockpit, probably reporting back what he saw. Probably trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Not exactly a terrorist. Say again. Jennifer Kim was your mother? Yes, sir. She died in a training accident in 2021. I've been using her call sign in simulators. I'm sorry. I didn't know it would cause problems. More silence, longer this time. She imagined them checking databases, verifying her story, making sure she wasn't lying. Zara, stay on this frequency. Don't change anything. We're going to verify your identity. Do not deviate from your current heading or altitude. Acknowledge. Understood. Maintaining heading and altitude. The F-22s stayed on her wing. Zara's heart was pounding. Were they going to shoot her down? No, they wouldn't. Would they? This was a passenger aircraft, 143 people on board. But if they thought it was hijacked, if they thought terrorists were using it as a weapon, they'd done it before, 9/11s. Shoot down hijacked planes to save people on the ground. 3 minutes passed, longest 3 minutes of Zara's life. She kept flying, kept monitoring the instruments, kept trying not to think about the fighter jets with missiles loaded outside her windows. Rachel was standing behind her, silent, watching the F-22s. Then the radio came alive again. Different voice, older, more authority. Zara Kim, this is Colonel Marcus Webb, United States Air Force. I served with your mother in the 138th Fighter Wing. I was her squadron commander. Zara's throat closed. Someone who knew her mom. You knew her? I knew her. Jennifer Kim was one of the best pilots I ever had the honor of serving with. Smartest, toughest, most dedicated aviator in our wing. She could fly anything, and she never quit. Not ever. Zara couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down her face. I was at her funeral, Zara. I folded the flag that went to your grandmother. I gave the eulogy. I told everyone about the pilot she was. And I want you to know something. Your mother would be very proud of what you're doing right now. Zara wiped her eyes, but the tears kept coming. Can you hear me, Zara? She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Keyed the mic. Yes, sir. Good. Now let's bring this bird home. You and me. Together. Just like your mom would have done. Colonel Webb's voice was steady, confident, just like her mom's used to be when she was in the cockpit. Zara, we're going to divert you to Denver International. It's the closest major airport with emergency services standing by. Full crash rescue, medical teams. Everything you need. You're currently about 85 miles northeast of the airport. We're going to start your descent in about 5 minutes. I know you've done this in the simulator. This is the same thing, just real. Just follow my instructions exactly. Can you do that? Yes, sir. Before we start the descent, I need you to check something for me. Look at your fuel quantity. Bottom center of your instrument panel, tell me what you see. Zara looked at the fuel gauges. 8,200 kilograms. Good, that's plenty. You could circle for another 2 hours if you needed to. You're in great shape. Now, have you ever hand-flown an approach before in the simulator? Yes, sir. About 100 times. Perfect. That's more than some commercial pilots get before they fly for real. You're going to disengage the autopilot and hand fly the rest of this flight. I'll guide you through every step. But first, I want you to talk me through what you know about approach procedures. Pretend you're teaching me. What would you do? Zara's brain switched into study mode. All those hours reading procedure manuals, memorizing checklists. I'll request vectors to the ILS approach for the runway. That's the instrument landing system. It gives me electronic guidance. Configure the aircraft at about 10 miles out. Flaps 5, then 15, then 30. Lower the landing gear at the final approach fix. Target speed 140 knots crossing the threshold. Set auto brakes to medium so the plane helps me stop after landing. Outstanding. You've done your homework. That's exactly what we're going to do. You ready to start your descent? Zara looked at the altitude. 37,000 feet. She'd descended in the simulator hundreds of times. But this wasn't the simulator. This was real air, real gravity, real people in the cabin behind her, real consequences if she screwed up. Her hands were shaking again. Zara, I need you to breathe for me. Take a deep breath. Hold it for 4 seconds. Let it out slowly. Can you do that for me? She did, breathing slowly, in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Good. Now listen to me. You can do this. I know you're scared. Your mother was scared on her first solo flight too. Know what she told me after she landed? She said being scared just means you understand what's at stake. It means you're taking it seriously. Fear is good. It keeps you sharp. Makes you careful. You understand? Yes, sir. Okay, reach forward to the autopilot panel, middle of the glare shield. You're going to see a button labeled a /P disengage. It's probably red or guarded. I want you to press it, but I want you to have your hand on the yoke first. The aircraft might want to pitch down slightly when you disengage. You'll need to pull back just a little to maintain altitude. Ready? Zara put her left hand on the yoke. It felt different than the simulator. Heavier, more resistance. She could feel the forces of the aircraft pushing against it. Real aerodynamic forces, not programmed physics. Real, ready. Disengage autopilot. She pressed the button. The yoke pushed forward in her hand. Hard. The nose started to drop. Zara pulled back, gently, the way she'd practiced. The nose leveled out. She was flying. Actually flying. A Boeing 737 with 143 people on board. Her heart was racing, but her hands were getting steadier now. How's it feel? Colonel Webb asked. Heavy. Heavier than the sim. That's normal. Real aircraft have real weight, real momentum. The sim can't fully replicate that. But you're doing great. Nice correction. Now I'm going to give you a heading and altitude. Turn left heading 240. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Pull your throttles back to about 70% and pitch the nose down about 3 degrees. Left turn, 240 degrees. Descend to 10,000. She rolled the yoke left. The aircraft banked. Not too much. About 15 degrees. Gentle. The horizon tilted in the windscreen. She pulled the throttles back. The engines spooled down. The roar decreased. The nose pitched forward into the descent. The vertical speed indicator showed 1,000 feet per minute down. Good rate, not too fast. She was doing it. Actually, flying. Looking good, Zara. That's a beautiful turn. Maintain your descent. Keep the nose steady. The F-22s were still on her wing, but now they felt less threatening, more like guardians. Escorts. Protecting her. The descent took 15 minutes. Longest 15 minutes of Zara's life. Colonel Webb talked her through every adjustment, every power change, every heading correction. Little more left, you're drifting right. Too much. Come back. Perfect. Hold that. Pull the power back a bit. You're going too fast. Add a little. You're getting too slow. It was like a dance. Constant tiny corrections. Nothing was stable. Everything wanted to change. Denver Center cleared all other traffic out of her way. No other aircraft within 50 miles. Emergency vehicles were rolling at the airport. Fire trucks, ambulances, rescue teams staging near the runway. News helicopters were already launching, camera crews setting up at the airport perimeter. The whole world was about to find out that a 16-year-old girl was landing a commercial airliner. But Zara wasn't thinking about that. She was thinking about airspeed, 250 knots. Altitude, decreasing through 12,000 feet. Descent rate, 1,000 feet per minute. Power setting, 65%. Just numbers, just procedures, one step at a time. Zara, you're at 12,000 feet. I want you to start slowing down. Pull the throttles back to about 60% power, then reach up to the center panel and find the speed brake lever. It's a black lever. Pull it up about halfway. Zara found the speed brake lever. Pulled it up. She felt the aircraft slow, drag increasing. The nose wanted to pitch up. She adjusted, pushed forward on the yoke, kept the descent going. Good. You're at 10 miles from the airport. Time to configure for landing. Find the flap lever on your right. Big lever. Move it to 5. Zara reached for the flap lever, moved it to the first notch. Position 5. The aircraft shuddered slightly as the flaps extended from the wings. The nose wanted to pitch up from the extra lift. She pushed forward, compensated. But she'd been too aggressive, pushed too hard. The nose dropped too much. They started descending faster. 1,500 feet per minute. Too fast. Alarms would start going off soon. Pull back, Zara. Gentle. Just a little. She pulled back. Too much. The nose came up too high. They started climbing. Forward, small inputs. Small inputs. She pushed forward. Tiny amount this time. The nose settled. 1,000 feet per minute. Back on profile. Her hands were sweating. Her heart racing. There you go. You're doing great. That's completely normal. The aircraft is going to fight you every time you change configuration. Small corrections. don't overcorrect. Feel what the aircraft wants to do and work with it. Zara nodded even though he couldn't see her. This was so much harder than the simulator. In the sim, everything was smooth, digital, perfect. This was messy. The aircraft fought every input. Everything was connected to everything else. Touch the throttles and the pitch changes. Touch the flaps and the trim changes. It was like trying to balance on a ball while juggling while someone was shaking the floor. 8 miles, flaps 15. Flap lever, second notch, 15 degrees. Another shutter, another pitch change. Bigger this time. She was ready, pushed forward to compensate, held it steady. Beautiful, Zara. You're a natural. Now, landing gear. Big lever on your right. 3 green lights should illuminate when it's down. Move it to the down position. The landing gear. This was it. Committed to landing now. She found the lever, moved it down. A huge rumbling sound filled the cockpit as the 3 landing gear assemblies extended into the slipstream. The aircraft shook. Massive drag increase. The nose wanted to drop hard. Zara pulled back, added a little power to compensate for the drag. 3 green lights illuminated. Gear down and locked. 5 miles. Flaps 30. Final landing configuration. This was it. Full flaps, final approach. Last configuration change before landing. She moved the lever to 30. The aircraft pitched up hard. Way more than before. The flaps creating massive lift. She pushed forward, added more power to compensate for the drag. Too much power. They started climbing. She pulled back the throttles. Too much. They started sinking fast. Power forward. They climbed again. Back, sinking, forward, climbing. She was chasing it, overcorrecting. The aircraft oscillating like a yo-yo. Zara, stop. Freeze your hands, hold what you have, let the aircraft stabilize. She froze, stopped moving the throttles, stopped moving the yoke. Just held everything. The aircraft settled. 1,000 feet per minute descent, 150 knots airspeed, on glide slope. There, see? You had it. You just needed to let it settle. The aircraft wants to fly. Trust it. Small inputs. Now, see that runway straight ahead? Between the 2 mountains? That's yours. Runway 34 right. Just keep it centered, keep your speed at 140 knots. When I tell you, you're going to pull the throttles to idle and flare, pull the nose up gently to land. Understand? Yes. Zara could see the runway lights now, 2 parallel lines of white lights leading to the threshold. Bright white centerline lights, the PAPI lights on the left side. 4 lights that showed if you were on the right glide path. 4 white lights, 2 high, 3 white, 1 red. Good, she adjusted, lowered the nose slightly. 2 miles. Her hands were locked on the yoke. Tiny corrections. Left, right, up, down. Keep it centered. Keep it stable. The runway was getting bigger, coming up fast, way faster than in the simulator. 1 mile. She could see the runway numbers now. 34R, painted white on the black asphalt. The threshold lights, red lights marking the end of the runway. She was really doing this, actually landing. 500 feet, Zara. You're doing perfect. Keep it coming. Stay on centerline. 400 feet. 300 feet. The ground was rushing up now. Details visible. Grass, taxiways, buildings. 200 feet, emergency vehicles lining the taxiway. Fire trucks, ambulances, flashing lights everywhere. 100 feet. Start your flare, throttles to idle. Pull back gently, let it settle. Zara pulled the throttles all the way back to idle. Both hands on the yoke now. Pulled back. The nose came up. 50 feet. 30 feet. Still descending. Pull back more. 20 feet. 10 feet. The runway right there. Coming fast. Pull. Bang. The main wheels hit the runway. Hard. Way too hard. The whole aircraft bounced back into the air. 10 feet. 15 feet. 20 feet. Zara's heart stopped. She'd messed up. They were going to crash. Bounce too high and stall and crash. Power. Add power. Keep it flying. The engines roared back to life. The aircraft climbed back to 20 feet. Unstable. Wobbling. Okay, relax. Throttles to idle. Try again. Gentle this time. Don't force it. Let it settle on its own. Idle. Both throttles back. The aircraft settled. 15 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. Touchdown. This time it stuck. Main wheels. Smooth contact. Then the nose wheel. Rolling. They were on the ground. Actually on the ground. Speed brakes. Pull the speed brake lever all the way up. She pulled the lever. The spoilers deployed on the wings, destroying lift, putting weight on the wheels. The aircraft slowed. Brakes. Gentle pressure on the toe brakes on the rudder pedals. She pressed on the pedals. The aircraft slowed more. 100 knots, 80 knots, 60 knots, 40 knots, 20 knots. Stop. They were stopped. On the runway. Safe. Stopped. Zara just sat there, hands still on the yoke, not believing it was over. Her whole body was shaking. Adrenaline crashing. Zara, you did it. You're down. You're safe. 143 people are safe because of you. You did it. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Her whole body was shaking. She'd done it. Actually done it. Landed a Boeing 737, saved 143 people, and then she started crying, not quiet tears, sobbing. All the fear, all the stress, all the terror she'd been holding in for the last hour, it all came out. Rachel hugged her from behind. You did it. You saved us. You saved everyone. Outside the windscreen, emergency vehicles were surrounding the aircraft. Fire trucks spraying foam on the engines as a precaution, paramedics rushing to the doors, and thousands of people watching from the terminal. Camera flashes, news cameras, everyone recording. But Zara didn't care about any of that. She just sat in the captain's seat and cried because she'd done it. What her mom would have done. Flew anyway when nobody else could. The emergency vehicles surrounded the aircraft within seconds. Fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, airport security, FBI vehicles, and news vans. Already, somehow the media had found out. Social media, probably. Passengers texting their families. Word spreading. Teen girl lands plane after pilots pass out. 16-year-old saves 143 people. Miracle landing in Denver. Zara sat in the captain's seat, still crying, while paramedics rushed into the cockpit to check on the unconscious pilots. They moved quickly. Professional, getting the pilots onto stretchers, checking vitals, starting IVs. Both stable, breathing normal, pulse strong, looks like hypoxia. They should be fine once they get oxygen. They carried the captain out first, then the first officer, both still unconscious but alive. Rachel was talking to other flight attendants, making sure all the passengers were okay. Nobody was hurt, just scared, confused. A lot of people didn't even know what had happened. They'd slept through the whole thing. When they finally got the jetway attached and opened the cabin door, Zara expected applause or cheers. Instead, she got FBI agents in suits. FAA investigators with badges, social workers with clipboards, local police, all wanting to talk to her, question her, figure out what the hell had just happened. A 16-year-old had just landed a commercial aircraft illegally, using stolen simulator credentials, operating an aircraft without a license, impersonating a military call sign. The list of violations was going to be long. Miss Kim, I'm Agent Rodriguez with the FBI. We need to ask you some questions about she needs medical evaluation first. A paramedic stepped between them. This is a federal investigation, and she's a minor who just experienced a traumatic event. Medical evaluation first. Then you can talk to her. But before anyone could argue further, someone else stepped through the cockpit door, Colonel Marcus Webb, still in his flight suit. He must have landed his F-22 and rushed over. In his Air Force uniform underneath, chest full of ribbons and medals, he walked straight to Zara and saluted her, a full military salute, sharp, respectful. Zara had no idea how to respond. She just stood there, tears still running down her face. The FBI agents stepped back. Even they knew not to interrupt this. Your mother taught me something, Colonel Webb said. His voice was thick with emotion. She told me that the best pilots aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who fly anyway when nobody else can. You did that tonight. You flew when nobody else could. Sir, I broke about 50 laws tonight. You saved 143 lives tonight. We'll figure out the laws later. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A pair of pilot wings. Silver wings. Worn, old, scratched from years of use. These were your mother's, from her uniform. I kept them after the accident. I was going to mail them to you, but I could never track you down. Foster system kept moving you, but I want you to have them now. They belong to you. Zara took the wings with shaking hands, her mom's wings. the real ones. She'd seen them in photos, on her mom's uniform in all those pictures on the walls of their old house. Now they were hers. She couldn't hold it together anymore. Just broke down, crying again. Colonel Webb put his hand on her shoulder. I need to tell you something else. Your mother's accident, the one they called pilot error, it wasn't. Zara's head snapped up. What? There was a mechanical failure, sabotage. Someone tampered with her hydraulic system. We proved it 2 years ago. The report is still classified, but it's going to be released soon. Your mother didn't make a mistake. She was flying a crippled aircraft, and she stayed with it as long as she could to avoid crashing into a residential area below. She could have ejected, saved herself, but she didn't. She wrote it down, trying to save people on the ground. She died a hero, and you should know that. Her mom hadn't crashed because of pilot error. She'd crashed because someone sabotaged her plane, just like someone had sabotaged this one. Who did it? Maintenance contractor with extremist ties. Part of a domestic terror cell. He's in prison now, life sentence. But the details were classified because of the ongoing investigation into his network. We couldn't tell you. I'm sorry you had to believe the lie for so long. All those years, reading the accident report, trying to understand what her mom had done wrong. And she hadn't done anything wrong. She'd been murdered. She died saving others. Zara looked down at the wings in her hand. She'd just done what her mom did. Flown a broken aircraft, saved people, refused to quit. The person who sabotaged this flight, Zara said. It's the same group, isn't it? Colonel Webb nodded. We believe so. FBI is investigating. But yes, same MO, same target profile. They're trying to bring down commercial aviation to create terror. Your mother stopped them 3 years ago by avoiding the residential area. You stopped them tonight by landing the plane. You're both heroes. Zara pinned the wings to her hoodie, right over her heart, her mom's wings. Now hers, Zara didn't become a pilot immediately. She was still 16, still had to finish high school. But a lot changed. Colonel Webb fought through military bureaucracy and family court to become her legal guardian. It took 4 months and 3 different judges and testimony from a dozen people, but he won. Zara moved to Colorado, got her own room in his house, a real room, not a foster care temporary space, her own bed, her own desk, her own closet. Colonel Webb's wife, Maria, was a teacher, kind, patient, nothing like the foster parents. They made Zara feel like family. She started at a new school, Cherry Creek High School, senior year. It was weird being the famous kid. Everyone knew who she was, the girl who landed the plane. But she kept her head down, focused on her studies, made a few friends, real friends, people who liked her for her, not because she was famous. She was enrolled in Civil Air Patrol, the official youth auxiliary of the Air Force. Legal flight training for teenagers. She got to fly real aircraft. Cessna 172S. Cessna 182S with real instructors. Learning the right way. No more illegal simulator sessions. Real flying. Real training. Working toward her private pilot license. She was 16, so she could solo, but couldn't get her license until 17. But that was fine. She was learning, growing, doing it right. The FBI investigation concluded that a mechanic, ground crew for United Airlines, had sabotaged Flight 1842's oxygen system. Same extremist group that had killed her mom. They'd been trying to bring down a commercial flight to make a statement, create terror, destroy faith in aviation, kill hundreds of people. They failed because of Zara. She had to testify at the trial. Federal courthouse in Boston, cameras everywhere, security escorts. It was terrifying. The defendant, middle-aged white guy with cold eyes, stared at her the whole time she was on the stand. Tried to intimidate her. But Zara stared right back. She told them exactly what she'd found, the oxygen system tampering, the evidence, everything. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Attempted mass murder, terrorism, sabotage, life in prison, no parole, and they connected him to her mom's death too. Same cell, same methods, additional life sentence. He'd never get out. Justice for her mom, finally. The FAA decided not to prosecute Zara for operating an aircraft without a license, special circumstances. She'd saved lives. She was a minor. She'd acted in good faith, but they did make her promise not to hack any more flight simulators. She promised, and meant it. The media went insane. Everyone wanted to interview her. Good Morning America, CNN, Fox News, BBC. Every news outlet in the world. She said no to almost everyone. But she did give one TED Talk. Colonel Webb convinced her. Your story can help people, inspire them. Show them that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about acting anyway. So she did it. TEDx Denver. What my mom taught me about fear. She talked about being scared, about her mom, about the flight, about doing what needs to be done even when you're terrified. She talked about the simulator hours, the illegal hacking, the obsession with understanding her mom's death. She talked about sitting in that cockpit, hands shaking, knowing she had no business flying that plane, and doing it anyway, because there was nobody else. The talk went viral. 10 million views in the first week, 20 million after a month. People loved it, not because she was a hero, but because she was honest. She admitted she was scared, admitted she almost gave up, admitted she didn't know if she could do it, but she tried, and that's what mattered. But Zara didn't do it for the attention. She did it because she wanted people to understand. Fear doesn't mean you can't do something. Fear just means you understand what's at stake. And now, 6 months after that night, she was about to take her first solo flight. Official solo. Legal solo. In a Cessna 172 at Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport. Her instructor, Captain Sarah Mitchell, retired Air Force pilot, friend of Colonel Webb, was watching from the ground. Zara was sitting in the cockpit, hands shaking, going through the pre-flight checklist. She'd already flown this aircraft a dozen times with Sarah in the right seat, but now she was alone, just her and the airplane. She almost called it off, almost taxied back and said she wasn't ready. The fear was there. Strong, real. What if she crashed? What if she messed up? What if she couldn't do it? But then she heard her mom's voice. Not a memory exactly, just the feeling of what her mom would say. The words she'd lived by, the words that defined who she was. Fly anyway. Zara took a breath, started the engine, taxied to the runway, got clearance from the tower, advanced the throttle. The Cessna accelerated down the runway. Light, responsive, nothing like the 737. 40 knots, 50 knots, 60 knots. She pulled back on the yoke. The nose came up, and she was flying, solo, for real this time, legal, certified, proper. She flew the pattern, turned crosswind, turned downwind, turned base, turned final, lined up with the runway, descended, reduced power, flared, landed, smooth this time. So smooth she barely felt it, barely heard it. The tires kissed the pavement. Better than the 737 landing, way better. She taxied back to the ramp where Colonel Webb and Sarah were waiting. When she shut down the engine and climbed out, she expected them to congratulate her. Instead, she just started crying, again. Because she'd done it, really done it, became a pilot. Like her mom, Colonel Webb hugged her. She'd be so proud, he whispered. Zara looked down at her flight suit, the one Colonel Webb had bought her. Official. Real. The wings pinned to her chest. Her mom's wings. Now hers. Call sign Viper didn't die when her mom died. It just evolved. Passed down. Mother to daughter. And Zara was going to honor it. She was going to fly. Not to prove anything. Not to run away. Not to understand why her mom died. Just to fly. Because it's who she was, who she'd always been, and who she was always meant to be. Zara Kim graduated high school at 18, top 10% of her class. She was accepted to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. Full scholarship. Her application essay was about her mom. About the night on Flight 1842. About learning that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. The admissions committee called it the most compelling essay we've received in a decade. She spent 4 years at the academy, studied aeronautical engineering, flew every aircraft she could get her hands on. Gliders, single-engine props, multi-engine planes, excelled in everything. Graduated top of her class, earned her commission as a second lieutenant, earned her wings, not just any wings, fighter pilot wings. She went through undergraduate pilot training, then fighter fundamentals, then F-16 training. Same aircraft her mom flew. She requested assignment to the 138th Fighter Wing, her mom's old unit. Colonel Webb, now a general, made it happen. And on her first day, when she walked into the squadron ready room, She saw it on the wall, among all the photos of pilots past and present. Her mom's photo, Captain Jennifer Viper Kim, in flight suit, confident smile, hand on an F-16, and next to it, they'd added a new photo, Second Lieutenant Zara Kim, in flight suit, same confident smile, same pose, hand on an F-16. Call sign, Viper. The call sign didn't die. It evolved, just like she did, from a scared kid running away on a red-eye flight, to the girl who saved 143 people, to a fighter pilot carrying on her mother's legacy. She stood there looking at the photos. Her mom, herself. Two Vipers, different generations. Same spirit. And she smiled because she'd made it. Against all the odds, through all the fear, through all the pain, she'd made it. And somewhere, she knew her mom was smiling too, proud. Not because Zara had become a pilot, but because she'd become herself, the person she was always meant to be, someone who flies anyway, someone who doesn't quit, someone who saves others even when she's terrified. Viper, not just a call sign, a legacy, a promise, a way of life. And Zara Kim was going to live it every single day.